The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you. Or wonders they say shall never cease to happen. The same people who just left Africa some few days ago telling us about democracy, human rights, partnership, equality are the same ones that are on the neck of a journalist for reading an article on state television. I showed you a video where a French journalist read an article proving that France and Ukraine were involved in the attack that happened in Mali on the 25th of April 2026. Macron and the journalist met, and Macron was not happy with this journalist for reading that article to the whole world about the involvement of France and Ukraine in the destabilization process in Mali. These are the people who are preaching human rights to us. These are the same people who are pointing a finger at the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, telling them how they are authoritarian, how we don't have the freedom to express ourselves, how they are doing A, B, C, D to us. And these are the same people who are telling us that Russia is the one that is in Africa, trying to colonize Africa. We all know that our leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, ever since they kicked out France, have always said that France is involved in every destabilization process in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. And when Emmanuel Macron came, looking at what he even said, by telling the whole world that what they are facing is as a result of them deciding to isolate themselves from the rest of the world, which means isolating themselves from France and from Europe, is why they are facing this, even confirmed to what Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso leaders have been saying all this while. And it's like they have decided to create this narrative so that when he comes, he's going to base all his arguments on that. If not, this man is just a journalist, and he has read an article that maybe they didn't want the article to be heard by all of us or whatever. We do not know. But a leader who just came into Africa telling us he is a Pan-Africanist should be ready to allow anything that has to do with Africa to be in the open. Democracy is about everybody sharing his or her views. Are the same people who are not even allowing journalists to just read an article that was written by somebody.
This political diplomatic topic in this journal with senior reporter Georges Malbruno. President Emmanuel Macron let his anger burst after revelations about France's actions in the Sahel. The journalist claims that Paris would now be acting covertly with armed groups, notably in Mali, in collaboration with Ukrainian secret services. These methodical accusations aired on RTL challenged the French strategy in the region. A media appearance that further weakens the already strained diplomatic relations between France and its former partners. We see this with Karim Bichanga.
What you have done there, given the sensitivity of the subject, given what you know about the history of this country, is irresponsible.
The outburst of the French president facing journalist Georges Malbruno, Emmanuel Macron lets his anger show. What you have done is very serious. President Macron says to this journalist, 56 years old, senior reporter at Le Figaro and specialist in conflict zones. But what could this journalist have done to make the French president so furious? Remember, it's this French journalist who on RTL methodically described France's maneuvers in the Sahel, particularly in Mali. In a column, journalist Georges Malbruno said that France is now acting covertly with armed groups in the Sahel and that this is being done in collusion with the Ukrainian secret services.
France, indeed, Thomas, does not have soldiers in Mali, where for the past 15 days an alliance between jihadists and Tuareg rebels has conquered several cities and is trying to overthrow a pro-Russian junta that does not like us much. And yet other military forces within France's orbit are at work. According to a French security source, these are units of the Ukrainian military intelligence, the GUR, operating in coordination with the Tuareg rebels. Among these units, there are a few dozen former Ukrainian legionnaires, French speakers. France is leveraging the pool of numerous Ukrainian soldiers who have served in our foreign legion. The Tuareg independence rebels want to weaken the junta in power in Bamako. As for the Ukrainians and US French, we want to make the Russian auxiliaries of the junta, the former Wagner militia, Russia renamed the Africa Corps Bite the Dust, as they have done everything to make us leave Africa. It's a sharing of interests, as the Tuareg rebels have an old relationship with the French intelligence services in the Sahel.
Remarks that confirm what many observers thought. France has left without leaving. Worse, it now works with those it had fought in the name of the fight against terrorism. And this revelation, especially made by a French journalist, a former hostage, and a keen expert on conflicts, does not sit well with the Élysée. When the French president encounters him in Beirut, Lebanon, he flies into a rage.
What you have done there, given the sensitivity of the subject, given what you know about the history of this country, is irresponsible. Irresponsible for France, irresponsible for those involved here, and serious from an ethical standpoint. You have always heard me defend journalists, but I speak to you frankly. What you have done is serious, unprofessional, and petty.
All of this without questioning the truthfulness of the journalist's statements. Georges Malbruno, as his own reporter with extensive experience, accustomed to war zones and challenging environments, is not a novice. His questions, sometimes unsettling, reflect an essential mission: to inform. Yet, in front of him, the president let out an anger that speaks volumes about his view on contradiction.
I was really uncomfortable seeing a president of the republic be so vehement, because the words were much stronger than what you heard. It lasted several minutes, 7 or 8 minutes.
The reaction of the French president shocked the press world, but it sounds like a harsh reminder. The freedom of the press taught and praised by France fades in the face of the interest of the French state.
We need to understand, as Africans, that the way these people always come here and project themselves to us are not the way they are in real life. And you find Africans buying into their narrative, claiming that if these leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are truly loved by their people, they should conduct elections. What is election? What is democracy? Look at the people who are preaching democracy to us, that do not want whatever that has to do with us to be in the open. They don't want you to even know what they are doing to you. And people are even in Africa telling us to forget about all the things that had happened. You find African leaders who still have the mentality that we need France to move forward. These people say one thing and act differently. And that is why Captain Ibrahim Traoré said, we don't need this democracy. We need to function as a people, find means and ways to survive. Because these people will always make sure that whatever that is true will not come to light. They preach one thing and act differently. Like Captain Ibrahim Traoré and Pierre Lumumba said, whenever it has to do with their interests, they protect it. They protect it. They find means and ways, everything possible to make sure it is right. But when it is for you, the African, everything about it is wrong. The man did nothing wrong. He only read an article. So, if a journalist do not have the right to read an article in public, what else is his or her work? As Africans, the time for us to wake up is now. The time for us to see people for who they are is now. The time for us to start looking within ourselves is now. We are seeing what the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso are doing. They are working, doing everything possible to grow. The same France, Europe are thinking about self-dependency away from the United States of America. So why do you think that the same people who are still dependent on the United States of America are the ones that can come into Africa to change the narrative for us? And you have billionaires during that meeting who are still calling on Africans to forget about what happened and allow France to help us in which way? Help us in which way when France itself is thinking about how to help itself, get itself from the United States of America. So we need to understand that the leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, whatever they have been telling us is absolutely true. The people who are preaching democracy, telling you have freedom of expression, are the same ones who are on the neck of a journalist for reading an article. Yet the Human Rights Watch haven't seen anything wrong with that. Everything about them is right. except when the African is doing something right for him or herself. And this is the person who is telling us that Russia is rather the one that is here to colonize us the second time. And we love being colonized by Russia, because if Russia helping us to gain our security, to have our total control, not to depend on other people, then that colonization is better than the one that is here, making us look like less human, to the point that they can rise up and shout at us, telling us about culture when they claim they are now the new Pan-Africanists. Africa, there is nobody that will come here and set you free. The people who are here preaching that they love you, speech is not action. And the ones who are making us look at our leaders in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso with a different lens should wake up. I think this is the time for us to see these people for who they are. Thanks to the internet, whatever that they do, we have access to it. It is left unto you, the African, to decide whether you want to move in this direction of freedom, or you want to continue to be slaves because you are mentally colonized into believing that you don't need yourself, but you need people. But in this new world, we are making you understand that Africa needs Africa and not any other person. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall, and united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we'll make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world, in Europe and in France.